relaxed and ready to go on the beautiful, hopeful day we've got out there. Devil, are we online? Okay, good afternoon, members of the staff and public here this afternoon. Welcome to the meeting. Okay, apologies. We have a full house, so no apologies required. Any conflict of interest in any of the items coming up? Sorry, can you not hear me?
Would you like me to do karakia?
Oh, sorry, yeah, dead right, sorry. Councillor Truman, can you kindly give us a very nice blessing for the day? Thank you. Thanks, Kirsty, sorry.
I te atua kaharawa, kia tata mai koe kia mātou I tēnei rā, manaaki te a mātou mahi katoa, I runga I te ingoa, o te matua, o te tama, o te wairua tapu, ake, amene.
Amene, kia ora. Thank you, Councillor Truman. Much appreciated. Any conflicts of interest on any of the items coming up? No? Okay, that being the case, we'll go to item number 1. It's confirmation of the minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting on the 23rd of February. Do we have any points of matters arising or points of clarification of those minutes? Councillor Boddy.
Thank you, Your Worship. After the announcement this morning that the timber company is not coming to Taupo, could I refer to page 1/5, item 10, which is the China trade delegation. So effectively at our meeting last month, we had allowed for a visit of yourself to Fengling to promote the idea. How do we change that? And secondly, the resolution that was passed is very, very clear, and in the document last month, it stated the anticipated cost of the council of between $2,000 and $4,000. This includes the cost of flights and accommodation for His Worship, the Mayor, and 1 staff member. Now, subsequent to that, that has changed, and there are others going. How many of the trade delegation that originally said they were interested, I think it was 14, are no longer part of it?
We've got Ms Walker here, the business manager probably answer that, but the first part of the Fengling was the Fengling query, that deal now not proceeding. I presume that portion of the trip will not proceed?
Correct, that will not be proceeding.
Okay, and the other question was, Councillor?
The other question was in regards to the agenda papers of last month. 10/4 stated that the 2 persons going from this council would be the Mayor and 1 staff member, and that was part of the reason that the resolution was passed. Since then it's changed that I believe the Chinese have allowed more people to go. So how many of the original trade delegation are not going, and where do we stand as a council to alter that decision to allow more cost to council other than what our resolution allowed?
So to answer the first part of that question, so the resolution was for the Mayor to attend the delegation and for a staff member to be advising that delegation. Since then we've had an offer from the New Zealand Shousing Association to fund 4 delegates to join the delegation. These representatives have asked specifically for these representatives, someone from the education sector, a representative from Tū Whare Toa, another councillor and a council officer to join. So those are the 4 that will be going. Council voted last week did a ballot for the councillor to attend, and then the council officer has also been selected relevant to their skills. We've done an estimation of what that will cover. The Shousing Association are covering the international flights for those delegates, and also we're covering on the ground costs in Shousing. There will be some additional cost for those for the mayor, for the additional councillor and the additional officer. However, we are confident that we can actually cover that in the budget that we did have in the resolution, because we have been able to make some economies there.
Thank you. Can I ask then, Your Worship, Mrs Walker, so effectively there is 1 councillor going, not 2, 1 staff member going, not 2?
No, so there is 1, the mayor, and then 1 council officer, and then now we have a funded, or part funded, would be an appropriate description, councillor and 2nd officer to attend.
So do we know what the part funding, whether it's in the budget or not, for this council will be?
I've done a budget for that, and I'm confident that we'll be able to fit it within the proposed budget that we originally did for the mayor to attend.
Worship, how then do we stand with the resolution passed last month, which was for the mayor and one council officer to attend?
Just before we answer that question, how many trade delegations? How many external trade delegations is there?
How many companies?
How many companies?
We've
Sorry.
had 7 confirmed at this stage, but there are still some to come.
Cool. The question of that of the other councillor.
Maybe a
going,
council
do we
officer
need
may
to
have to answer.
We can do an approval at the next council meeting. The trip isn't until May.
I'm just having a...
handle that?
Okay.
Sorry, can someone point me to the page that you're referring to?
Officers don't need approval.
No, officers don't need approval.
So it'll be an agenda item for next month. Thank you.
We can do that. All right. Okay. Any other? Sorry, Chloe, did you want to say something?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Any other points of clarification or matters arising from those minutes? No, that being the case, could I have a mover, please? for
I'll
those?
move,
Moved by
Worship.
Councillor Body, seconded by Councillor Cousins. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Item number 2, Emergency Management Committee, Turangi Tongariro Community Board and Audit and Risk Committee. So we go to the first one was the Emergency Management Committee. Any points of typos or clarification? Any matters arising from those minutes? Okay, we'll go to the Turangi Tongariro Community Board meeting held on the 8th of March. Any matters arising from those minutes? No? Okay. Yeah, I'll move my block at the end of the night. Yeah. Then the Audit and Risk Committee meeting 14th of March. Any questions or queries of those minutes on 2/9? Okay, so if I could have a mover for the minutes. Thanks, Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Krastowski. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Item number 3, governance structure for the formulation of a reserves management plan for Turangi reserves. We have Mrs. Maver. Nice to see you, Sue.
Good afternoon. I wasn't planning on summarising this paper, but I'm more than happy to if you want to. It's pretty straightforward, I think.
We've had the agenda for a few days, so is any questions or queries of the item number 3? Councillor Krastowski.
Technical question for me, please. This committee, will it report directly to council or will it report to the Turangi Community Board first and then to council?
It reports directly to council, but the minutes also go obviously through to TTCB, to Turangi Tukua, that's it, and to the Charitable Trust.
But that's only as a courtesy?
Yes,
Yeah, right,
so everyone
okay.
knows what's going on, but it reports to full council.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Stewart.
I think it's so wonderful to have this happening. I'm just over the moon that it's got there, and it's for Turangi Tukura and Turangi, and then to be able to actually finally look at the reserves and do something with the reserves is going to be a really positive way forward. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Stewart. Councillor Cousins.
Chair, so I think we should bring community board member, that should be one focus to councillor, one probably overboard and one community board member.
We did.
That's why there's a gap.
So we've got a gap.
There is a gap, yes.
Because Neil was the other person.
So do we want another councillor on there, or?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Barry Hickling, Deputy Mayor. And my reasons for that is Barry worked on the Southern Lakes Reserve Management Plans as well, and he was the chair of that, and his knowledge was really great, and his knowledge of parks, reserves and everything else brings a really good grounding to the discussions at the table.
I'm willing to second that, yeah.
Chairman, I have a query then, and this may fall into the gambit of Mr. Hickling. On 3/3, option 4, can include people who are not members of the council if they have a special skill or knowledge. What would those skills and knowledge have to be?
That would be over to you as a council or a committee to identify what skills you needed to put in there. So it could be something around tikanga Māori, it could be something specific about reserves. I think that's the reason why you've got a nomination the way you do is the specific reserve knowledge. So over to you as a council.
Okay. So effectively, the person with the skills and the knowledge would be Mr. Hickling, but he is a council member.
But through the chair, what that also does aid is you need at least one council member to make to hold to be present. So this way, if for some unforeseen circumstance Maggie can't make it, they can still meet if Barry's there. Correct?
Yes.
I'd accept that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Councillor Stewart, for your positive comments. And I think did you move the resolution, or Councillor Dudley?
I moved it and John seconded it.
Okay. Cool. So it's been moved by Councillor Stewart with the amended resolution with Councillor Hickling. Do you accept, Mr. Hickling? Councillor Hickling,
Yes.
sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, and thank you to the councillors for their confidence in my abilities, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hickling, and to your busy workload. Okay, been moved by Councillor Hickling,
I'd second.
seconded by Councillor, someone over there.
No, I didn't move it.
Councillor Williamson. Actually,
I'll
sorry.
second
it. Yeah.
Stewart.
Stewart and Williamson, get it right. The amended resolution with the new name, number 4. Shani, thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Item number 4, accountability documents received from council-controlled organisations. And that is attachment. Yep. Okay. Good afternoon again, Chloe.
Councillors and Mayor. Firstly, I'd just like to introduce my colleague Sue Shaw, who hasn't been before council before, but she has been involved with the CCO reviews and will be compiling all of the work around that.
Welcome,
This item is pretty mechanical. It's basically for council to receipt the draft statements of intent for our 5 CCOs. These will then be assessed by council officers and by yourselves as councillors, and then we will bring a paper back to you in the April meeting for consideration to provide feedback on these statements of intent to the various CCOs before the finals are delivered to us in June. Obviously, don't need to read anything more about that, but if you do have any comments that you are wanting to provide to us in the interim period before next meeting, please email either myself or through to Sue.
Okay, thank
Any
you, Chloe.
questions?
Thank you, Sue. Any questions of Chloe or Sue? No, pretty straightforward. Thank you. Okay, there's a recommended resolution there. Council receives the draft statements on the organisation. Thank you, Councillor Hickling, seconded by Councillor Krastowski. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Item number 5, tender contract for the 3 waters maintenance contract. Mr. Dennis Lewis. Good afternoon, Dennis.
Afternoon, Your Worship, councillors. I have the tender report, recommendation report for the 3 waters maintenance contract, which includes electrical maintenance. I'm not going to read the report out, I'll take it as read and get straight into questions. I'm sure you've got a few.
Thanks very much, Dennis. Councillor
Thank you, Your
Krastowski.
Worship. Just a couple of questions to start with, Mr. Lewis. This is a significant contract, and I noticed that we've had an external moderator. I'm assuming that this person took the place of a peer review type of scenario.
Peer review, moderator, probity auditor was there to ensure that the process was followed.
Okay, thank you. If I could, sorry.
One more.
One more. In the case of Downers changing ownership, would the new ownership company, would the council be made aware of that before we accept the new owners? The reason why I'm asking is we had a scenario not so long ago where Higgins changed ownership, I understand. And because it's a significant contract, be interested in your views.
We would certainly attempt to convey that information as soon as it became aware. Often we only become aware of change of ownership when it's made publicly known, and that would, could well be via the Friday mailer or something like that.
Councillor, did you have any more follow-up to
I
that?
wonder whether we perhaps, if the rest of the councillors agree with it, whether we could have a sort of a paragraph inside the contract that we are made aware before it's made publicly aware.
Sure. Okay, we'll note that down. Thank you.
Just a comment, there will be assignment clauses in the contract, Dennis, as a standard, yep.
Councillor Cousins?
Through the chair, I wasn't at the meeting, this workshop this morning, so apologies for that. So I just want to clarify two things. That all the figures here are GST exclusive. All the ones that are in this agenda item are GST exclusive.
Excluding GST?
Yes. All of them.
Yes.
And why was the engineer's estimate was 12.5, including the limited day works, but the tender amount is plus $1 million. Why isn't that just included in there?
The engineer's estimate of 12.5 makes allowance for the $1 million worth
Within that, yep.
of day works, which is something that you're not able to determine at the outset of the contract, and so that $1 million is added to the contract value. We're seeking approval to add that to the contract value as a day works.
Yes, a bit confusing. And finally, I did a bit of research into City Care. They're a good New Zealand company, and we're giving it to somebody who's Australian. It's not that I'm, patriotic or anything like that, but City Care seem to have a very good reputation. It's just
City Care are currently owned by Christchurch City Council, and they're currently up for sale. So who their owner of City Care will be in another 6 months,
who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
That's cool. That's all.
Thanks, Councillor Cousins. Councillor Park?
Yes, thank you. Just through the chair, Dennis, with this morning's workshop briefing, whatever you'd like to call it, did ask you about the actual spend.
Yes, the actual
amounts
spend,
of the
annual
two.
actual spend for the Three Waters maintenance electrical contract and other works associated with that is $2.195 million. So $2,195,300.
Great. Okay, and of this sort of magnitude, there'd obviously be a release around this if this was passed, would there, or not? Yeah, there's just if there's a section out there that it's been given to another contractor at a higher amount, but it is in fact our cost efficiency of two contracts being brought together. I just would like the ratepayers to have that understanding.
Yeah, there will definitely be a news release.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Park.
So, Your Worship, Mr. Lewis, if we look at the previous contractor, which was Fullerton Hogan, I believe.
That's correct.
Are we comparing sums with sums? Was their tender including the two?
The tender sum is identical. They all tendered on the same tender document.
So it's exactly the same basis. So that 2.1 would have been an inclusion.
The 2.195 that I referred to was the cost of contract works, the annual cost of contract works, not for Fulton Hogan's current contract. As I said, it included the electrical maintenance contract and also some other works that are being done that are now included in the new contract.
Through you, Your Worship, regularly we get a report on spills, all that sort of thing, which would be Fullerton Hogan's responsibility.
Yes.
And if I remember, under our criteria, they all met within whether it be 1 hour, 4 hours,
That's
whatever
correct.
our criteria was. Was that a factor was that a factor taken into account when you've come to the conclusion through your peer review that this is the suitable contract?
Those things were considered by the tender evaluation team. That was one of the criteria. Yep.
Thank you.
Councillor Body. Councillor Hickling?
Oh, yes, thank you, Your Worship. Dennis, is it normal to have a 5-year plus 2 making a 9-year sort of overall contract, or is that one of our largest periods of contract?
It is normal to have a fixed term up front, whether it's 3 years, 4 years, 5 years or whatever, followed by extensions of time. That is normal. The time period can vary With NZTA contracts, they're restricted to 3 years +1.
And what is what is our norm in the council?
Well, we have a variety, as I said, NZTA contracts are 3 +1, so all the road.
I'm not worried about their contracts. What is our
No,
actual
okay,
contract?
well, sorry. Our road, I was just about to say that the road maintenance contracts, so the signs contract, traffic markings, road maintenance are all 3 +1. The previous Three Waters contract was a 3 +1. We've got solid waste contracts in the order of 7 years +1. So there is a variety through council.
So what instigated the change to a 5 +2 +2 when the previous contract was only?
The reasoning behind that was to try and provide a contract duration that was attractive to contractors so that they could mitigate their risks over the contract period, but also not have it that long that it had a significant impact on the contractor market.
So are you confident that this 9-year contract won't have a significant effect on the market?
It's currently a 5-year contract, and I'm afraid I've got no crystal ball. I can't impact on that. And there are other forces outside of what we do. For instance, NZTA let the 9-year network outcomes contract for the Central Waikato that's had an impact on the contractor market in Taupo.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Truman.
So after this time period is up, does it then go out to open market?
After the 5 years,
After the, say if everything goes well after the 5 years in, say, the 2 + 2, after that, does it go out to open market?
yes,
Back out to tendering process?
yes.
Councillor Johns.
Mr. Lewis, one of the primary drivers for combining these contracts is to save administration and operation costs, correct?
One of the drivers.
One of the drivers. Do you have any idea, when reading this paper, it seems the biggest savings potentially in day works, which is something that we can't always estimate. Would that be correct?
That's correct.
Okay. We're allowing $1 million, is it, in day works over the 5-year contract?
Yes.
And previously we've been looking at over $2 million.
That's right.
So we just will have a plan to monitor that to make sure.
Yes. Yeah, we currently monitor monthly contract expenditures against budgets, contract budgets, as well as council budgets to make sure that they're tracking as we would expect.
Because it seems to be one of the biggest savings is potentially in that area.
One of the larger savings for this contract will be in the proactive maintenance that is done rather than reacting to things as they occur.
Councillor Chris
Yeah,
Susky.
just a couple of more questions, if I may. The first one is that I'm sure that you would have done it, but just for my benefit, we would have used our connections through Bob Less and Lesser connections in order to derive the best possible outcome.
Yes.
And secondly is that I would imagine that this contract, we would be expecting to improve our environmental outcomes, such as breaching of resource consents that currently have occurred because we have been reactive rather than proactive.
We currently don't breach any resource consents because of reactive as opposed to proactive. What we're aiming to do with proactive maintenance is to reduce the number of sewer spills that reduce the incidence of water main breaks, that sort of thing, and that will have a positive outcome on the environment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lewis. Is anyone prepared to move this reasonably significant resolution here today?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Councillor Krasowski, seconded by Councillor Stewart. And thank you, Mr. Lewis, for the workshop this morning as well. I think on items such as large as these, it's a good idea to have some prior knowledge of this. So, been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Item number 6. Owen Delaney Park and Crown Park floodlighting. Mr. Andrew Bowden. Good afternoon, Andrew.
Good afternoon, Your Worship, councillors. The report is as read, but just something I'd like to confirm before I answer any questions is the Chief Executive Officer has managed to negotiate a discount from the price of the upgraded transformer of $21,000. So in the resolution at the bottom of the first page, should you decide to pass the resolution, the figure of 160,000 would change to 139,000.
Beautiful. We don't see many of those resolutions, do we?
Amazing. Could I just say something on that? The credit must go to Danny Goff at Unison. Unison are very community-minded, and upon approach, they were very reasonable and really did try and do a good thing for the community by offering that reduction. So I think we should actually give them kudos for that.
Thanks for that. Thank you, Rob, and thank you for your negotiations on our behalf. Okay, we haven't sort of
Sure, the
discussed
report
it yet,
is
so
as read, and I'll take
any questions of Mr. Bowden? Councillor Krasowski.
Quick question as regards to technology. Is that utilising the latest LED technology, or are we still using the older type?
Metal halide lights are still being used in a significant number of floodlighting projects. However, some football clubs like Chelsea, for example,
Good club.
have put time to discuss this. Have put LEDs in. So LED lights are not there at the moment. They're not cost effective. So metal halide are the ones that we have been advised by our electrical engineer, the ones we should be using. However, in other parts of the work that we've recently done in Taupo, for example, the South Domain lighting, they're all LED. But in flood lighting, they're not there yet.
Okay, thank you.
So just to clarify, Andrew, Owen Delaney Park lights are suitable for, if we went to tender for a Super 15 game or a whatever,
They'd be
football
fine.
match or whatever,
They'd be
they're
fine.
suitable to Sky standards at the moment.
Yes, they are. And a significant part of that is the upgrade of the technology in the high definition cameras that Sky are using. Some time ago, when this project was its inception, Sky did review the lights at Owen Delaney Park, and that's what prompted the start of this part of the LTP. Subsequent to that, HD cameras came on board. The Jock Hobbs rugby tournament was one of the first that they'd used this new van, and they subsequently brought that for the football game in December last year. And they basically, we reviewed that again with Sky after the competition. And I even went in the van here when that football competition was there, and it's amazing what comes across on the broadcast. So it is very much part of the new HD cameras that they use.
Thanks, Andrew. Councillor Hickling.
Thank you, Your Worship. Andrew, just a weak concern about probably the maintenance and the upkeep of Owen Delaney Park lighting systems, because obviously they're 20-odd, 25. There was second-hand when we put them up there. We are leaving enough in the account to keep that
Operational,
Yeah.
an operational budget, definitely.
Yeah.
And the amount that I've noted in here, that 60,000, that we was really a catch-up from the past. And bearing in mind this project was always, was perceived as going to happen, some of that maintenance was kept back.
Yeah.
So really, it's a large amount of money, but it was kept back. And because the competition, the Jock Hobbs competition was coming up, it was decided to carry out the work for that catch-up to make sure that what we had there when the competition started was the very best that we could do in preparation for that.
Just so we have Council, we have an annual contract for the lighting maintenance. and what happens at the end of every year, that's built into our asset management planning as we go forward. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Just a question, Andrew. Being the Taupo Football Club being the major beneficiaries of these lights, have we asked for any contribution from them? Has that been?
No, not at the moment. No, I haven't. I'm not sure they've got sufficient funding to supplement what we've got. We can surely ask them, but I'll be very surprised.
I just put that question out there.
Well, what I'd suggest, Your Worship, you do is give them a decent stand, then maybe they'll cough up some money for the lights.
Okay, you can always ask the question.
Yep.
I see the chap over, I think, over on the left is nodding his head, so no problems. All right, any other questions or queries?
Which was just one on procedure. We're altering the resolution. We don't have to have any form of procedure like an amendment from the 160. Okay, we don't. Fine.
Because you've not read the resolution, so you can make a resolution at any time until it's been moved and seconded.
Okay, cool. All right, so amended resolution there, down to 139. Have we got a mover, please, for that? Councillor Hickling, seconded by Councillor Cousins. Oh, sorry, slow, Rosie. Yeah. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you, Andrew, and thank you for your work on that. Lovely. Item number 7. Chief Executive's Officer's Report.
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll take the report as read. I just want to thank those councillors that did come and see me prior to the meeting and clarify questions. That was a very welcome series of approaches, and hopefully you have the answers, and I'm comfortable if you want to re-ask the questions today as well too. I just wanted to highlight 2 issues. One on 7/2, there is a figure quoted for Waitahanui water supply of 2.125 million in terms of the subsidy. It's actually 1.942 is the subsidy, so that's an incorrect figure that was taken from a very old report. So I just wanted to correct that for you. But most importantly, I just wanted to highlight the great work that Mr. Lewis and his team have been doing in terms of working with the Regional Council on consent conditions for wastewater treatment plants. That work continues to be ongoing, and certain projects are being delayed as a result of that work, but it's proving dividends, such as the Acacia Bay wastewater treatment plant, which we've managed to significantly delay some upgrade work that was possibly being required by consent conditions, and we've been able to negotiate those consent conditions to remove upwards of millions of dollars from our predicted budgets moving forward. So I think that's a really positive news story, that the work that we're doing behind the scenes to define consent conditions appropriate for the situation that we find is actually creating savings and money that we don't have to spend in the next 5 to 10 years. So I think that's a credit to Mr. Lewis and the engineering team for that. Other than that, I'm happy to take questions on the report, and we have staff in the room to be able to answer those questions.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you. Got a full detailed report there. Any questions and queries of the Chief? Councillor Krasowski?
Again, I'll just reconfirmation that on 7/2 under service delivery performances, the second paragraph where we say officers are seeking to address these issues through further work with WRC staff to ensure that consent conditions are appropriate for the circumstances. So we are not in breach of any consent conditions as we speak.
No.
Thank you.
Councillor Boddy?
Thank you, Your Worship. On 7/18, this is an issue I've raised with our Chief Executive. It states that we had 41 events till the end of February, but on 4/18 on the 2nd of February, it said 165, which I think Mr. Samuel is going to explain. And then on 7/25, we deal with the gross domestic product and the gross domestic product per capita. The figures, I believe, or the explanation seems to be wrong. Once again, I'll leave it in the hands of Will to explain what that's actually saying and what it should be saying.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Worship.
Thanks, Councillor Wally. So, through the Chair, 7/18, the 41 events last time reported this time versus the 165 last time. That's just, we had a change in staff over the time that was reported, and it's just the way it's been reported. So the number that you have now is actually the true one. So to give you an example, last time, for example, they were counting every single time there was a boot camp as an actual event, whereas how we've counted it this time is that's just a series of bookings and it counts as one versus 60. So that explains that one. 7/25, so this one here, so the 7/25, it's under gross domestic product. So the total nominal GDP, that's reported from Statistics New Zealand, and we're given that figure annually. And so what our economist has been doing in the past, every quarter, every 6 months, is giving an estimate of that. So if we didn't get that estimate, you would just get exactly the same figure every month. And so the problem with this one is that they did an estimate 1 month and then they didn't the next month. So that's why there's a change. So we've since spoken to our economist and suggested that we keep the nominal GDP one just as is, because that's anything else is just basically an estimate. But what we will do is try and forecast that economic growth one, because that's the one you really want to be looking at, is how's our growth and how's that compared to the rest of New Zealand. So that's the 4.1% you'll see here versus New Zealand at 3.3. Hope that answers the questions.
There was the next one was to do with the gross domestic product figures. 7/25 showed March 15, but 4/25 on the 2nd of February stated September the 15th. I was just wondering why there was that change, was the other question I raised with the CEO.
Yeah, so that was the second explanation of it. So the March 2015 number, so that's an annual number reported by Statistics New Zealand. So the reason that it would have been a September number previously is that our economist has made attempts to forecast that number.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boddy. Any other questions of the Chief Executive? Councillor Krasowski. Oh, sorry, Councillor Williamson.
Yeah, through the chair. Yes, I'm just interested in 7/3, just regarding the think tank, regarding the cost sharing arrangements, assistance after disasters. Obviously, this is in the early stages of Crown looking at changing the ratio. Is this like, is it being brought about by Christchurch? Like, a lot of the damage is horizontal infrastructure, isn't it? Yeah, that's the driving behind that, yeah, which is good of them. Yeah.
We're certainly keeping a very strong eye on that one.
And on page 7/27, I don't know whether it's actually reference to 2013-14. Is that right, or is that the right year, or is that just with the targets of 3 events in both these areas, the last sentence?
Yeah. 14, 15, yeah. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Well done, John. Well read. Very impressive. Councillor Truman.
No, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. So the 2013-2014, that's taken out of the long-term plan, and that just gives you a baseline for what it was before the long-term plan started. Just so you've got a point of reference. So I realise now being 2016, it's kind of seems out of date, but that's the reason why it's there.
Okay.
Seemed a long time ago. Councillor Truman.
Just on 7/16, just in regards to Turangi and Mangakino, they're awaiting the validation of the UV equipment by the drinking water assessor. I just wondered if there was a time frame around that.
No, there is no time limit. The drinking water assessor's got that information. We're just waiting for some response.
Okay, is there any time frame that we need to keep to? Okay, so it's out of our hands.
In terms of the overall timeframes, from our perspective, they need a year's worth of records to be able to make an assessment against, and that's why it takes a long time. It's because you have to actually provide a full year's worth of records. Yeah.
Councillor Bernard.
I have another question, if I may, please. The first one relates to the View Road discharge thing. It's an ongoing issue that we're having. This weekend has been a significant weekend as regards to visitor numbers, and there's going to be a significant amount of sludge going to our tip, no doubt. Is there any end in sight as regards to the issues relating to resource consent on that particular issue? Discharge?
Reference to the biosolids?
Yeah.
Yep. We're currently working with a party looking to treat the biosolids. I'm not too sure where we're at yet. I've been away for a couple of weeks, so just prior to me going away, we had a meeting with that company looking at treating the biosolids on site, but I'm not sure how far that's progressed. I know we are working to develop a business case that will be brought before council when we've got all of the necessary information.
Because there's a significant cost involved transporting it to our tip.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My other question, if I may, is on 7/16 under highlights. I see that the complaints received should be no more than 8, but under the last 2 bullet points, we are on 21 and 19.
That's 8 per 1,000
Yeah.
connections.
So that number on drinking water pressure or flow is 21.
Yes, so that's 21 in total. So I'm not sure how many connections we've got. I think it's about 22,000.
Okay, that makes explains that. As far as smart meters are concerned, we had some issues with smart meters. Has that been resolved?
I'm not aware of any.
Not water meters.
Yeah, it's work in progress. And when we have worked out the best solution, potentially best solution, we will bring it to council for a decision.
And my last question, it might actually require you again, Dennis, is the one on 7/17, water usage. The figure that we have here indicates that average use is down, but if I were to think aloud, seeing that we have a lot of absent homeowners, does that imply that the average water used by our permanent residents is actually higher than what is indicated here?
This is the average use that includes the high population. So this last weekend, and you'll see that not only does it coincide with the summer months, but it also, with our high peak population, it covers everything. And currently it's sitting at 0.9. This is probably more reflective of the rain that we've had over this last summer than anything. If you notice, you have a look at the peak for January 15, it's up about 1.5 per hue, whereas the peak for this year was, I think February was the peak at 1.21. Sorry, January. February's one's missing from there. That was 1.06.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis. Thank you, Councillor Kosowski. Any questions or queries of the Chief? Councillor Williamson.
Well, through the Chair, I just want to highlight a couple of things, just acknowledge the good work the Treasury do with the financial management team are doing with the, notwithstanding the economic conditions, with the interest rates, achieving a return of over 5% in the TL investment portfolio as opposed to the general interest rate in the investment portfolio of about 3%. And also the genuine savings of about 430,000. I realise some is due to timing, but there's actual real savings of about $250,000. So I'd like to congratulate Rob and his team as well on that one.
Thank you, Councillor Williamson.
There is a couple of points, Mr. Chairman. I'm old school and I'm reluctant to accept change, and I would refer to 7/40 in regards of the coloured bar graphs and dartboards that we seem to have in front of us. One of the difficulties I have with something like this is, particularly on page 7/40 on the right-hand side, the black graph there, I can't read the writing, it's blurred. And then when you come to the bottom of that up and down story buildings, when you look at what's drawn loans, that colour doesn't show me whether, because if I work along, I could be looking at something else. It's not clear. I'd like us to go back to the good old days of the columns in black and white, which you can just tick off. It's nice to see, but I don't believe it allows us to adequately work out to exactly where we are, but that's just me.
Through the Chair, yes, I apologise for the inability for even people with glasses on like me to actually read that, and the colour scheme will be addressed. When we did the change to the Treasury management policy,
we discovered that there were some reporting requirements under the policy that weren't being met under the previous Treasury Management Report. Hence, we revisited what we were actually reporting to make it align with the requirements of the Treasury Management Policy. In doing so, we tried a new way of showing things, and it's not going to suit everybody, but the key thing is that it now meets the requirements as per the Treasury Management Policy for monthly reporting to Council.
So, Mr Chairman, what else could we put in, new things in the report in a black and white form with figures?
We will take on board the feedback and we'll explore whatever changes we can make that still meets our reporting requirements, and quite happy for any councillor to email us with any thoughts as to changes they'd like to see.
Black and white.
I thought you might like the colours.
Colourblind, you've got a problem.
Okay.
Finally, Mr Chairman, from me anyway, 7/52, and I had a discussion with Mr Manhannett this morning, which is the bow wave expenditure up to the 29th of February on page 752. Third figure down has 635. On the 2nd of February, when these figures were last given to us, it had 886. And at the bottom, 4326. 2nd of February, it was 4577. Now, Mr Manhannett gave me a reason for that, but I'd like to hear it again, please.
Okay, the information given at the end of, for the February report was as at the end of December. Since then, staff have done quite a bit of work on the carried forward projects to determine whether the budgeted amount carried forward was in fact realistic in based on the increased information. And if we take, for example, the case that you mentioned, the Motuopa wastewater, I think at the end of December there was about 28,000 that had been spent with a budget of 886,000. As you can see, as at the end of February for this particular report, 328,000 had been spent, and they were in a far better position to say, okay, the total cost is now going to be 635. So what we're trying to encourage here is, just because there's a carried forward budget from a previous year does not mean to say that it's locked in based on the information. It's a bit like in the financials, we're giving you forecasts as to what we see the year-end position being versus what the plan is. What we've tried to encourage as far as the bow wave is concerned is that for it to be more realistic as to what is the carried forward or the uncompleted capital expenditure.
So then effectively, if Motorola is in the next month, there's been some expenditure, that should change accordingly.
Yeah, it's a bow wave with a bit of intelligence by the staff should become more of a forecasted capital expenditure in respect of incomplete as at the end of the previous year.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Councillor Williamson.
Through the Chair, just on that page, I noticed in the unbudgeted projects there's about $30,000 not necessarily had to be spent, in other words, saved. Yeah.
on those two projects.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think the key message is that staff have taken on board that just because something's in a budget doesn't mean to say it gets spent.
Happy with that. Very happy with that. Councillor Krasowski.
Question from me on that subject. Were staff able to ascertain whether there were any scheduled flights over the Easter weekend by Sounds Air to and from Wellington?
I got that question at lunchtime. Apparently there was on Friday and Sunday, and I've asked the CEO at the airport to get me some details as to why they didn't on Saturday, Sunday. I think it might have something to do with the Wanaka Air Show, but I'm not happy with the answers I got so far. So once we get the full response, I'll share it with the councillors.
So you said there was a flight on Sunday?
No.
No.
Friday and Monday.
Friday and Monday.
Friday and Monday, okay. All right. Very good. Okay, thank you, Alan.
I'm happy to move.
Happy to move the suggested resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive, for your ongoing, and your team for your ongoing hard work. All those in favour, it's been moved by Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Cousins. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Right, item number 8, adoption of statement proposal of draft fees and charges for consultation. Mr. Nicholas Carroll.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and Councillors. I'm here for the next 3 items, 8, 9 and 10, which in reality are more like a package to do with the annual plan going out for consultation, but they've been broken down into some specific chunks just to make sure that we're ticking the right boxes from a process perspective. In terms of this first item, item 8, it's essentially the adoption of the fees and charges for consultation. Should be no surprises there. You've worked through these at a workshop on the 10th of March. Just a reminder as well from that workshop, there are a bunch of other fees and charges that we have as a council that we're not required to consult on, and those will come back to you at June, where you can consider those as part of an overall package for approval. But these are the ones that we are required to consult on.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Any questions on the first one? Fees and charges? No, that being the case, could I have a mover, please, for that? Thank you, Councillor Krastowski, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Item number 9.
Right, this one again is relatively straightforward. It's simply picking up the supporting documentation that goes along with the annual plan and seeking your approval for that to go out. There is one amendment which I have to bring to your attention. It's a relatively minor one, but it could have some significant impacts. So on page 33 of your attachments, this is in the funding impact statement, page 33. Section 4.2, differentials, sitting in the middle of that page, has a table. And you'll see in the right-hand column of that table, we've got 1,000 for a number of lines, and then we've got 1,800, 1,800, and 1,000. That should be 1.0, not 1,0, and all the way down through that table. So all those commas need to be decimal points. Not a big one, but could have some significant impacts. So best we get that right. But other than that, there are no other proposed changes.
Cool. Thanks, Nick. Okay, any questions or queries, Nick, on the item number 9? Suggested resolution there, 1, 2 and 3. Councillor Boddy?
This also is to do with attachment 2, is it not? Because the second one talks about attachment 2, attachment 3, attachment 4. Attachment 2 relates to prospective financial statement, which is the paper I've given all the councillors. Oh, unfortunately, Nick hasn't got one.
It's attachment 2, and this attachment is the perspective schedule.
Can you have some queries on that?
Well, yes, and I spoke to Mr. Manhattan this morning. When we look at page 9 and we look at long-term plan 16-17, I would assume that the figures there would be from the long-term plan that we passed 18 months ago, whenever it was. And if you go down to total rates and revenue, which is about halfway down the page, you'll see for 16-17 the figure of 61,782. Figure that I've got in the long-term plan that we just did was 62 million. This is saying 61. So I'm just trying to query as we go through, even on page 10, as you see by the list I've given you, the long-term plan figures excuse me, are different than to the long-term plan figures given as an attachment 2. And Mr Manhattan gave me a reason. I'm not sure at this stage whether I agree or disagree, but I've always thought that if you have a long-term plan, that figure stays consistent in any of your documentation. Your change would come along when you look at the annual plan 16-17 versus what we actually said in the long-term plan for that figure.
Through the chair, there's one thing that we can't control, and that is change to accounting standards. When we do our annual report each year, and it's audited by New Zealand Audit, one of the things that they check on is our accounting treatment. When we did the original long-term plan, as far as the rates revenue is concerned, we grossed up the revenue and treated the rates remissions as an expense. When we came to do the last annual accounts, we were required to net off the rates remission against the rates income. Hence the difference there of 821,000 between the LTP figure shown in the draft annual plan going forward and what the LTP was. When we did the annual plan, we did it on the same format as the annual report that we did for the 14-15 year. If we stuck to the same format of the LTP, then we would get a number of significant variances between the annual plan for 16-17 and what the LTP said. We have not changed the numbers. What we've done is changed the accounting treatment of those numbers to align with our current accounting policies, which unfortunately we have no say in and don't set, but we have to comply with them. So any changes has to be reflected in our financials.
Everyone understand that? Everyone understood it?
Well, quite simply, where we had 62,603 in the long-term plan, that included rates remissions before the remissions occurred of 821,000. The figure we're now showing of 61,782 is that 62,603 less the rates remissions. So we are showing net rates income, not gross rates income, and that aligns with the accounting treatment.
Just through the chair, so taking that that thought forward, Alan, into expenditure, if we look at one that Councillor Body's done here, operating expenditure, and the difference between that and what's reported in the LTP, can you just walk me through why the difference is for that one?
So that's what page...
114, I think it is, not, yeah.
114, the LTP, page 10 for your...
Page 10.
Do you want the long-term plan copy?
No, if I can ask Mr Crawford to assist in that regard.
I'll let John talk it through, because I just want to, I hear what you're saying here with the rates remission, I just want to understand the logic then for this one here. Total operating expenditure. John's got page 10 on here, I suppose.
Yeah, page 10.
83,856 verse.
83,856, and that's 81, which is on 114. Is that enough information for you to have a look at? Yes.
All the annual plan numbers are...
It's probably related to the petrol tax fines and other sundry income of 1,060,000, which is once again another accounting treatment. Is that correct, John?
Well, I think what we're looking at there is the operating expenditure. It's simply the 821,000, which was previously shown below the line as an expenditure item. It's now been netted off against income.
Because the income has changed.
They both change and net out to the same net
figure.
result. Income is reduced, but also the expenditure is reduced.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same bottom line
The same line.
Exactly the same.
Is there an opportunity at some stage when the dust settles to have a look at the LTP numbers and just reflect the useful?
Yeah.
This is our document.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, they don't marry.
Okay. Through the chair, this is adopting a set of financials for consultation. At the end of June, you will be adopting the annual report. So what we will do subsequent to this meeting, we will send out for each of the numbers that differ between the LTP as per this document and the LTP as per the document in front of you, line by line, what the changes are. Because, as I say, it's not as if you're adopting the annual report, annual plan today. So there is time for you to understand it and give any further input.
Okay, no, I'm comfortable with that.
Mr. Chairman, just the final shot, so to speak. On page 9, so I've got it, on the LTP page 80, in the 16-17, the total comprehensive revenue and expenses are 94 million, but at the bottom of page 9, the same figures are 13 million.
Well, we just spent it, the difference, but no, we will include That's why I'm going on holiday.
Holiday.
Yeah, we will include all those in the explanation to you. Thanks.
Thank you.
No, it would be good, because if this is out in the community,
Yeah.
and people are going,
Yeah.
it doesn't add,
Yeah.
and if there's good explanation,
Yeah.
let's make sure we will understand.
Could I just respond? We could have left the LTP figures exactly as they were presented in the original document, but we felt that it was better reporting, because otherwise you wouldn't be comparing apples with apples when the allocation of some of the expenditure is shifted.
Yeah. So we will, by the end of next week, we will make sure everybody's got it. Note that, John. And so therefore, if you get any questions from the community, you'll have the answers.
Through the chair. You're saying, I appreciate all the comments, was obviously we all need to understand, but I don't quite understand why it hasn't been highlighted as $1 million extra surplus in the LTP revised figures.
The thing is, and I'll say it for the last time, because I've been proven to be wrong, I suppose, I believe if you have the LTP figures, that stays in the column, and then you put it in the annual plan what they are and give the reasons for it. I rest my case.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Krasowski.
Sorry, Excellency, if I may. Under the prospective statements of borrowings, we have the figure of our closing gross debt figure. I can't find any corresponding closing net debt figure. Can someone?
We don't actually show that as a separate number because that's just netting off the assets and liabilities side of affairs.
Could I just report, Councillor, those figures on 14 are consistent with the LTP figures.
But we'll take that one on board as far as
And my last point, as I still have some concerns as regards to the language that we use and the rates remission a proposed policy, where I believe it is possible for some ratepayers to believe that there will never ever be a charge to them for connecting up to the water supply.
Council hasn't made that decision yet. Based on the feedback from the consultation, you will then revisit your decision in that regards.
Again, I come back, unless you actually consult on that possibility, will you in fact be able to do that then, without going back to a consultation later on?
I believe it is part of the consultation document.
about to look at the next.
We'll cover in the next.
I've raised my concern and I'll leave it up to you.
Okay, Nick, anything further to add on item
I guess
9?
the only thing I'd add to that conversation is that the legislation, the Local Government Act, requires council to review it after 6 years regardless. So there's an inbuilt review process sitting there, and at that point you can choose, or council may choose, to progress or to
But we
to
don't
not.
actually say that, and that's my point, is that we know it, but the people who are going to submit to it don't know that. That's my point.
Chairman, could I also support Councillor Krasowski in that regards of the letter we got from Waitanui, and I know people are going to say, well, we didn't know how many people were there, how many agree with it, but they do make a condition which is, for any reason in the future, no connection fee would apply at the time of that connection. Now, when we go to the long-term plan, revenue and financing policy, page 98, it states, we also believe that individuals, groups and communities should pay for the services they receive at the time they are using them. This is important when we build significant infrastructure, blah, blah. Are we going to be in breach of the long-term plan by saying, no, you don't?
I'm sorry. I got a little bit lost there. Can you repeat the question?
Well, the question is, in the letter that we received way back in, it was dated in February, I think we got it in March or late February, whenever. The meeting on there said that they would not, no connection fee would apply at the time of that connection is one of the reasons they may take the water down there. But when I read the revenue and finance policy in the LTP, it believes, we also believe that individuals, groups and community should pay for the service they receive at the time they are given them. Are we going to be in breach of the LTP?
No, because what you have in the LTP is that philosophy, and then in your rates for remission and postponement policies, you have the ability to say that there are specific situations where we're going to deviate from that overall philosophy. So what we're saying in this situation is, across the board, we would expect that if people are in a position where their property is serviceable, then they would pay a half water rate. What you're doing through the rates for emissions policy is potentially saying to the community, in this situation, we believe there are specific circumstances which mean we should deviate from that overall philosophy. So no, I don't believe you'd be in conflict with your long-term plan.
Thank you.
All right. Suggested resolutions here 1, 2 and 3. Item number 9. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Cousins, seconded by Councillor Stewart. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Item number 10. Okay, adoption consultation document for the annual plan.
Colourful.
Okay, no. Right, here we go.
So I understand that a copy has been circulated to you earlier today for tabling. The contents should not come as a big surprise. You discussed those in the council workshop. Again, the mocked-up version was circulated on the 23rd of March for comments. As I understand it, we've had comments from 2 elected members come back, and we've made some very minor editorial changes as a result of that. What has changed subsequent to that again is a minor tweaking of the section on rates for emission, which we were just talking about. And that's to place, I guess, greater emphasis on the subsidy that we're getting from the government, the 1.9 million, and to perhaps make it even clearer that those who choose not to connect would not be expected to pay that half charge. So it's about clarification. So happy to take any questions you may have with regard to that.
Okay, everyone clear on that? Any other part of the consultation document? Happy? Yep. Okay. Suggested, thank you, Nick, for that. And thank you, Lisa, for obviously putting that together. That's good. van gets used again, though. And all that van, you're going up in value.
Couldn't get all the kids into the van, unfortunately.
Are they freedom camping? Or? No.
Don't get me started.
All right, suggested resolution that we hit the road. We'll get this out there. Could I have a mover, please, for that? Councillor Williamson, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Hickling. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Yeah. The tree in the view. Sorry? The tree blocking the view, though.
Don't worry, we can block that out.
All right, item number 11, naming of public roads, Hooker Heights subdivision. Louise, geez, it's been a few years.
I know it has. So excuse me if I'm nervous. Again, it's been years since the last
Nice to see everyone. You want to just introduce yourself, Louise?
My name's Louise Wood. If I haven't met you all before, I'm a senior planner with the Resource Consents team here at Taupo. And so the road naming responsibility has fallen to the Resource Consents team for about the last 3 years. So that's the naming of new public roads. Yeah. So this is a subdivision on the corner of Hooker Falls Road and Wairake Drive. Not to be confused with Taupo Heights, which is on the just adjacent to that to the north. And the developer has put forward 2 new road names. The first one being for the ring road around the outside. Sorry, it's attachment 1 to this. And that's Hooker Heights Drive. And the small cul-de-sac in the middle is Broadcast Lane. So basically we check that there's no nothing too similar within our current existing roads, and that there's no apostrophes, obviously, or hyphens or anything, things like that. And they also have to carry out consultation with emergency services to make sure it's okay with the police, ambulance and fire service. And they've also consulted with Ngāti Rahoto, who's covers that area, and they've all got approval from all those parties. So it's fine by us, it's fine with you.
Broadcast Lane is quite apt for that area, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because of the
radio station up there, yeah.
Remembers the radio station on top of the hill?
Yes.
Delivered the newspaper there.
Through the chair, I agree. Thank you, Louise. Clarification, is lane the right terminology for a cul-de-sac, though? That's my only question in this whole paper. To me, a lane is you go through a lane, not go dead end, turn around and come out again.
I'm not really sure. There is a new standard that came out in 2011, which does recommend the types of
Road determination.
Terminology that you use. I'm pretty sure a cul-de-sac can be a lane. It doesn't say that it has to be a through road.
So I've seen Rowena Crescent, and it's a cul-de-sac, and it only goes in a line, and I don't know why it's called Crescent. It doesn't make sense. And I see lane.
Yeah.
Is
it because is that going to become a through road though?
No.
No? Oh.
Random things done, and I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
lane. There's nothing really.
I can double check, but I think it's okay.
Lane's nice and small.
Yes, I think so.
Sizes and everything.
Yeah.
Or is it?
Yes. All right. Thanks, Louise. I doubt that you would have discussed it amongst your team. I'm sure that lane conjures up quite a small little street to me, but
The broadcast doesn't.
So everyone happy with those names?
Yep.
That's cool. Other questions of Louise? Okay, that being the case, and a very popular subdivision at the moment, isn't it?
Yes, both of them are.
Yes.
Well, this one hasn't actually come in for its post-subdivision checks yet, but I would say they'll be very soon.
Yeah. Lots of houses going up there. Okay. Resolution there. Could I have a move, please? Thanks, Councillor Boddy. Seconded by Councillor Cousins. Sorry, Janet. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thanks, Louise.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
See you later.
Item number 12, District Plan Correction, Section 20A changes. Hilary. Afternoon, Hilary. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
So I've got 2 pretty straightforward items really. So I'll pretty much just take them as read and answer any questions as need be.
Any questions of Hilary? Okay, sorry. Sorry, Councillor Cullen.
Through the chair. In regards to 15 Nonny Street, I was a bit confused because there was no overlay here that I could see. I Google mapped it myself. That is the strip of land at the very end. It used to be the Z service or petrol station at the end.
Yeah, it's just the district plan reserve overlay.
Yeah.
So depending on what layers you had turned on your
So two strips of lots of land.
yeah. So they wouldn't have shown, they're not on the system as reserve,
Yes.
but on the district plan layer, they have a reserve overlay on them.
Right.
Yeah, so it's just I don't know, it's just a funny little inconsistency that's happened through the mapping system that we need to tidy up.
And the owners of that land are aware.
Well, it's privately owned, so they would not be expecting it to have a reserve overlay on top of it. And so we're just tidying it up because it's not meant to be there.
So I did hear that it's just sold, and I was wondering if that is actually, they're even aware. I'm sure they would do when the title came up.
Yeah, it might not have even come up. No one might have not even noticed it.
So the notable tree in Proutford Terrace, did we chase the...
Yes, we did. So apparently there was someone drill poisoned it and then tried to light it fire. So they had quite a good go at it, and then it had to be removed because of health and safety reasons. The guys did have a look into it, and they're pretty sure they knew who did it, but there was just no way of being able to prove that. So that's the...
Is that on the right going up?
Yeah.
On the right going up.
There's two of them. There's one's still there.
Low property.
Yeah, one's still there, and the other one is now just a stump.
Okay.
Were they on private property, they, the carry trees?
No.
Road.
They were on road reserve.
Happened about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, so it's a wee while ago that it happened.
All right, so Amenity Tree Trent is currently mapped on the wrong side. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Need to be adjusted on the line. All right. Sorry, Roseanne.
Thank you, Your Worship. I note that we're just doing a small review of the district plan at the moment. It just sort of started me thinking, where are we at with our rolling review of the district plan and our discussions on 2015? I know it's not, it started that thought process. If you're doing some tidying up, where are we at with the next stage?
I'll review the 22nd,
Yeah, 22nd.
22nd story. We're progressing on TD 2050. We're at a point where we're pulling together paper, clarifying the key issues that we need to deal with going forward. So that'll give us some real clarity in terms of coming back to you and having a workshop on that. In terms of the rolling review of the district plan, we're continuing to roll on. Obviously, the flood hazard plan change is part of that rolling review. It's taking a pretty key focus on the couple of individuals we've got at the moment who can work on this. The other arm of that project is looking at the software solutions that we can implement around the new district plan. At the moment, we've got a district plan which is well, actually it's about that thick and it's paper, and we've managed to convert those into PDFs and stuck them on the website. That's not particularly customer friendly, particularly in this digital age. And if you've listened to the government's rhetoric over the past couple of years, there's a lot more talk about trying to become digital savvy as someone who's providing services to customers. So that's something we're investigating at the moment, looking to go out for a request for a proposal to get in place some appropriate software to enable us to do that. So we've got those two work streams underway at this point.
It would just be quite good to get some visibility at some stage on how we envisage that plan rolling out.
One of the key pieces of work we need to get sorted, I guess, is falling out of TD 2050 and that discussion on issues is how are we going to prioritise this review? Traditionally, you just bite off chapters. You might do a residential chapter and then a rural chapter and then you might do parking. That can become quite complex and cumbersome. So one of the things we're thinking about is perhaps biting off all the objectives and policies first.
And then rolling it out
and
those
then
key streams.
looking at your individual rules after that. But there are pros and cons either way, so we need to make sure we get that right.
So we'll have an opportunity to discuss
Oh,
that
you most
soon.
certainly will.
That was a minute and a half.
3.5 minutes or what?
Yeah, all right. Where were we? Yeah, so, okay, anything else to add, Hillary? You're all right? Any questions? No questions? Okay. Suggested resolution there.
Yeah.
I've moved. Thank you, Councillor Harvey, seconded by Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Item number 13, election signage. Making plan change 35, operative.
Yeah, so you'll remember we came to you to get that approved at the end of last year. We went out for consultation and received no submissions. So it means that we can skip the whole further submission and hearing process and get straight on and adopt it, which is good.
Cool. Okay. Thanks, Hillary. Have a move, please, for that. Moved by Councillor Jolland, seconded by Councillor Harvey. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Yeah.
Thanks, Hillary. Okay, item number 14. Submission on the resource legislation and amendment bill. Headley.
Afternoon. So this is simply just getting you to endorse a submission that was done about 2 weeks ago, and I circulated to you all prior to that being submitted. So it's just an endorsement at this point.
Okay, thanks, Headley. Any questions or queries, Headley, regarding that?
No questions or queries, just to say congratulations for such a very good submission. I think at another meeting I made the comment about the local government one with spelling mistakes, and we fixed that. So it was an exceptional, submission.
Great. Thank you, Headley. Thank you, Councillor Jollins.
Just a quick question from me. Are we expecting to speak to our submission?
We will, yes, we have indicated that we want to speak to it. There is, I know, some keenness from Bay of Plenty councils to try and get all the councils in the region to present at the same time. The select committee at this point haven't set aside a time yet, so we're working through that with them to try and get that in place, which obviously once we'll speak to the submission at that point.
So the latest on that is that it sounds like the select committee will actually hear all of the Bay of Plenty councils in Tauranga, so they'll come up to Tauranga and do a specific bit for the Bay of Plenty councils, so we'll get a whole lot more time and we'll coordinate those presentations because we're all consistent. So rather than each council going and saying the same thing in 5 minutes, we'll do it together and get an hour.
I would be interested to know when that date was, if I wouldn't mind.
Cool. Okay, thank you, Headley. Thank you for that submission together, and keep in touch as to how that goes. What's happened?
He's keen.
It's the sugar in the Easter egg.
Any other questions of Headley? Headley, have you got anything else to tell us?
No, that's all.
All right. Suggested resolution there, moved by Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Stewart. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Go, 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 go.
Right, item number 15. Triennial election 2019. Order of candidates' names.
I want to go home once.
Really got nothing further to add to the agenda item, so happy to take any questions.
No one's perfect.
Any questions of Tina?
No one's perfect.
You see your name in mine. I'm very happy with this particular resolution.
No, it should start at the top.
So that will mean each individual ballot paper will be randomised.
Last time.
And the time before.
All right. Thanks, Tina. Any questions of Tina?
Move the suggestion.
Move, Councillor Hickling. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor.
I've done the last couple. Councillor Shevchin.
I'll second.
All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, thanks, Tina. Item number 16.
I have tabled a
new
piece
one.
of paper with some additional meeting and some workshops. So the first one you'll note on there is the PMG meeting for Tuesday the 5th, 10 till 12. And then on the 19th of April, some additional workshops, freshwater reform, mayoral discretionary fund policy draft to come back to you. There's also one there around additional responsibility payments for elected members. So we need to have a discussion on that, and that's got to be back to the Remuneration Authority by the 15th of May. And the last one is some information around elections and the communications during the election period for elected members and resources, etc.
Tina, just add into that as to the query earlier regarding Councillor Harvey's attendance in the China trade delegation. Is it possible to do that now?
Yes, if
Under
members
this?
want to do that, you could add a resolution there that the attendance of Councillor Harvey on the Taupo China trade delegation be approved.
It's not really a conference or a professional development opportunity, is it?
Chair, my comment has nothing to do with any personalities. I think an indication was given that we'd be discussing it at the next council meeting.
Yeah, I just given the option there.
So we voted against any other officer and or going.
Yeah, I'm happy to take the lead of the
Superseding something.
on the council of that if we want to
yeah.
tidy that up now.
Well, through the chair, I've just expedite the process and do it now, personally.
If it's covered off in the Code of Conduct 10.1, absolutely.
I'm just taking Tina's lead on this.
Yeah, so it's really you can approve that if you want now as part of the Code of Conduct. So it's really just approving the attendance.
All right. Okay, councillors, any queries on the questions on the meeting dates? Everyone's got the tabled copy. The new dates.
Can I just ask, is there any further thoughts on any night workshops?
Not in school holidays, it's bad enough in government during the day.
26th of April.
We have canvassed that before, Tina, have we? Or
Yes, I've got the information that you did as part of your survey, which I want to bring back and have some discussions around changing the council start date time potentially in some workshops.
so that's coming back to us, is it? Yeah. Okay.
Does any workshops that start at 10 on a Tuesday? I'm generally really trying to get here, but no, that's it.
Just further clarification, Councillor Park has mentioned Code of Conduct. 10.1 actually states about professional development courses and conferences, not overseas travel. I would vote for it, but I'd far rather wait until we meet at the next council meeting as to what we're going to do, because the trip has substantially changed. England will no longer be in existence, and it's contrary to the policy we adopted on our February meeting.
I will take the councillor's lead on this. Does anyone want to change it, or you want to tidy it up now?
Through the chair. Just the reason I suggest bringing it forward, doing it now, is because the council, if it's approved, goes. It's leaving a bit late for her to make plans as to her work program.
Now, so I need to, if it's not on, I need to reschedule something.
Okay, well, I'll test the meeting that we have as a suggested 1, 2 and 3, and possible 3 that Councillor Harvey be attending the trade delegation in China, and it's covered within the existing budget. I think that's the important thing. And could I have a move for that, please?
Yeah, I'll move it.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Park. Anyone else want to speak?
Well, I will vote in favour of it, but I reserve my right to have another opinion as to what we do with this particular trip at our next council meeting. So I don't want to be told, well, you voted for it to happen, because we haven't as yet. We're re-examining it. But I'll certainly vote in the process at the moment.
We're voting for it now to happen. If you want some more information on the trip.
Well, I'll have to not vote then, because it's not a formal council meeting to do that.
All right. All those in favour? Anyone else want to speak against?
You know my view on it. I'll be voting against it, because I just don't think there's anything worthwhile comes out of it.
I'm sorry, just through the chair, I'm a bit of it's actually no cost to the ratepayer. It's like an amazing opportunity. I just can't see why you'd vote against. Okay, if you don't personally believe in it, that's fine, but this is an opportunity that's been given to us that's not going to cost the ratepayer any additional money, and it just seems a shame to just not take advantage of that.
Time to my belief.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Totally disagree with it.
Okay.
And could I also remind the meeting that our last council meeting, we actually said the cost would be between 2,000 and 4,000, including flights and accommodation for His Worship the Mayor and one staff member. We're now being told that the New Zealand whatever is paying for it. I'm very unhappy with the way it is at the moment.
I suppose perception too, I suppose, for council, how it's perceived by public in election year.
Through the chair, George, I just totally disagree with that. Historically, it's just, I think another councillor made a comment. It was a gracious offer by the Chinese, to do this, and I think it's really something. It's to represent the community. We've been elected as representatives, not officials as such, to represent the community, and I think it's always a good look, not reputational. So I object to any connotation in my experience in this town. It's always been a positive spin and a negative.
Thank you, councillors, for your views. So 1, 2 and 3, it's been moved by Councillor Hickling, I think it was, and seconded by Councillor Park. Williamson Park, sorry. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against?
Yes, me. No, please.
Would you like to recorded? Councillor Cousins, Councillor Boddy, and Councillor Jollins against the resolution. Thank you.
Saying that, we should have held it in 3 parts, and I would have voted for 1 and 2. So
agreed.
Should have been once again done in 3 parts, but I'm not the chairman.
17. Members' reports. Hand up to Shaney. Members' reports up to Shaney. Any other verbal reports that people have attended things, functions?
Could I,
Councillor Hickling, order please. Councillor Hickling.
could I just take a few minutes? I was privileged to deputise for the mayor and meet the consul from China. I was a little bit embarrassed because she asked me if I'd been to China, and I had to say no. But we met at the prawn farm. Mrs. Xu, her name is. She's been in the consul in Auckland for about 4 months now. I honestly believe that she would be a really good contact for us to host for the day. She came down for 4 hours and did a tiki tour around Taupo. Never been before, but she's very, very keen on tourism. So I honestly think it would be a really good ploy to invite her and host her for a day, because I think she could be a very, very good contact for tourism for us. So, okay.
You just know the international numbers coming through the gate at the moment in Auckland.
Yeah.
It's huge. So thank you, Councillor Hickling, for doing that on my behalf. Appreciate that. And thank you for picking up those vibes, because that's what it's all about. Okay. Anyone else got any verbal attendances of functions? No? All right. Oh, you've got them all, Shaney? Thank you. Or suggested resolution that the reports be received. Thank you, Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Harvey. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Right, we go on a 5-minute break. Oh, should we go into confidence now? Yep. The reasons outlined there. Over mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Cousins, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, if you want to keep going. 2 minutes.